Welcome to the podcast. It's Mr. Ish. We're here at Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, Kudare Clubhouse, season number 7. And this season is a doozy. I'm getting all the top guns. No one is saying no to me. I don't know why, but I'm going with the flow. Today we have another special guest. And this is even more special, I think, than our executive director, because this guy is hard to catch. Please introduce yourself for our listeners.
Hey, how you doing out there, everybody? My name is Sinclair Hollingsworth. I am the Director of Operations at Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club.
Give you a little applause. There's people out there watching us.
And, at the end of the day, I'm happy to be here, man, to talk about all the good stuff.
Yeah, welcome back. We did a podcast before. I ain't going to put you on the spot, but the audio was a little off. Let's put it that way. Audio was off, and I don't want him to look bad because, he's still signing my checks. So we'll start off there. Mr. Sinclair, just tell the people a little bit of what your role is in the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club.
Well, I started with Kips Bay back in 2008. I started off as a school-based site director in the South Bronx, PS 140.
Shout-outs?
From PS 140, I got promoted to Community Center Director of the ThriveNet Community Center in 2012. From that point on, I kind of morphed into this supervisory leadership role. So I became an area director while I was still running the ThriveNet Community Center. From there, I became a deputy director of operations, where
this resume is long. This is a 3-pager.
Where I was in charge of all of our DYCD Division of Youth and Community Development contracts. And then from there, I got promoted to director of operations in October 2019.
Right before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, right before the pandemic, I got into this role. It's been a role that I've always wanted, coveted, and, kind of want to be able to affect change from a different level. Where I sit now, I don't get to work with the kids as much directly, but indirectly, everything I do is for the youth.
But now you get to work with staff really close because you're in all the buildings.
Absolutely.
You're in every building. That's why I said it's so hard to get you because you don't have a secretary. I can't reach out to somebody.
No.
You understand? You may have 2 or 3 phones and stuff like that, but I can't reach out to another person to reach out to you to set something up in the background. It has to be direct.
Yeah.
And that's great because it's good because I know that you pick up the phone and you reach out to me quickly. But I felt some type of way yesterday. You were trying to duck me a little bit.
No,
but,
absolutely, man. I try to stay as accessible as possible. I mean, anybody that knows me or anybody that knows me in general, I answer my phone. I'm not ducking anybody. So at the end of the day, I do have 2 phones to keep business and personal separate. But at the end of the day, I'm always, ready to answer my phone to support the staff. And to piggyback what you said, yeah, I get to work with the staff. I feel like, sometimes I'm more of a social worker than anything else. But, it's supporting, redirecting, helping them, figure out some of the things they got to go through on a day-to-day basis.
But that's also the growth because now we have, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds that you're molding their life and how to handle business, how to handle themselves, how to, respect the company, how to do all those things that, we can't really focus on when they're only 13 and 14 years old because it's summer youth at that point.
Yeah,
now is the real world. Now is, college. Hey, you should do this. You should get into these programs. Use what we have here to help you out. And a lot of people are taking advantage of that. So big up to you for that. I know you've been in the company more than 10 years, right?
Yeah, 2008, 12, 13, 14 years. I grew up, I grew up in Kips Bay, a former Kips Bay kid. Which is also part of my story that, not gets lost, but at the end of the day, I've been through every aspect of a kid to a youth development professional to where I'm at right now. So, it allows me to have, insight on all aspects of what we do in this youth development space.
I really think that's important because even when you drop in on some of our meetings, when we start off either the summer or the school year, you drop off in our meetings, when you say something to us or you give us an example or you tell us a story, you're telling us a story from something that we're seeing now, but you already seen. And this is the way I will handle it. And this is the way, situations come up and how effectively to get out of these situations. So when we see it from a person that's been through it, it's really different. It's really different. So yourself, Mr. Contreras, the same thing. Like, you've been in the system. You were a kid. You worked through the system. Miss Francesca, she worked through the system. So when you have people like that, you could really trust what they're saying because they know what they've been through. They've had examples. They've made mistakes. They've learned from it. So it's very important, for us as employees to say, hey, nah, Mr. Sinclair said he wants it this way, and I think that's the way we're going to do it. Not that I really have a choice, but I mean that
we all got choice.
Yeah, that's true. You have a choice, but there's going to be a repercussion too. So, so it's one of those things that when we hear it from you, we be like, nah, it has to be that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the reason that I am a successful leader is that aspect of it. Is that I've done it. I'm not coming from a point of authority all the time. At the end of the day, it's about relationship and relationship building. If I build the staff up to do what they got to do, it makes my life easier. So I have to pour into them. I have to make sure that I'm available. I have to walk them through certain, instances, accidents, incidents, staffing, to make sure that they get it. So if they get that, now I can go on to do something else.
What I also like is that, you've moved up the ladder. So you also have the eye for that. So when you're looking at somebody, you're like, you know what? This person is a standout person. Let me put them in this situation. You know what? This person is doing let me give them a little more responsibility. So these are little things that also, as a staff member, you see that and you're like, wow, he trusts me with some things. Like, I don't have to call him back. Like, there's a lot of trust that you build if you earn it, obviously. And it's really good to work for a company like that you don't really, your boss really trusts you. It matters a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm big on trying to build from within. Who else to know what we do and how we do it than somebody that's been here? Sometimes going from the outside and getting people, they don't understand the culture. And then that time with them learning the culture creates, issues, concerns while they're learning. At the end of the day, and I tell the staff all the time, I'm always watching. I don't need to sit down, sit at the table and watch you, but my observations are generally spot on, and I'm able to tell who is somebody that's worth pouring into or taking the next step. And listen, all time, you might see something in somebody that they don't see in themselves.
That's very true.
That's part of what I try. What I try to do too is like, open your eyes. There's more opportunities. Keep doing what you're doing. People are noticing. To kind of keep the staff encouraged. I mean, at the end of the day, I am a true testament of somebody that worked his way up to the top. It's funny, in my interview for Kips Bay in 2008, I sat down and had an interview with the then Director of Operations, Miss Yvonne Brown. And I remember telling her at that moment I wanted her job. But I didn't want it given to me. I wanted to learn it and go through the process. And that very same day from the interview with Ms. Brown, I went up and spoke to Dan Quintero, who is our executive director, and told him the same thing. I want your job, but I don't want to handle it to me. I want to go about it, getting it the right way.
I mean, that's an approach that is not for everybody.
No,
that's an approach that I would tell people to do. You know what, Sinclair? I think I want your job. Yo, Ish, stick to podcasting. I don't know where you at yet, but that's impressive that you had the vision to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and I don't want to place it in the platter. I want to actually go out there and earn this.
Oh, they made sure it wasn't placed on the platter either.
I'm sure. Hey, shout out to Miss Brown, because I met Miss Brown later on, I think after she retired, but she's such a wonderful lady.
Yeah.
And I've seen her around because, I've been around the camp and the clubhouses, but I never worked with her. But I met her, and we had some good conversation. She was like, I heard a lot about you. So even with that, even not being directly, part of her team when she was here, it was a good look. She knew who I was and all that, and that was kind of sweet. That was nice.
No, absolutely. I learned a lot from her. If there's one person that I can kind of pinpoint on, who I learned the most from through observation or just watching or even just through conversation was Miss Brown. And, at the time and getting to where I'm at now, it wasn't easy. I got looked over for a bunch of positions, but all I did was motivate me to go back to school. I went and got my master's to kind of eliminate the no. So that was always my mind press. My mind thought and my processes was, you're right, I didn't get this now because of X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to do this. I didn't get this now because of X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do that. So my goal was to eliminate the no, so you can't tell me no.
You know what? Now that you say this story, I have a story too. I remember when we opened up Digital Arts, Quintero, he knew that this was my thing. And, and I see new people coming in. I'm like, well, what's up with me? Like, that's what I do. Like, we've been at events together. I do weddings. And it was like, okay, so you know what? I did tell him the same thing you said. I said, that's going to be my job. That's going to be my job. And yes, I waited in the background and I did all that stuff. And when it was time to come in, that's it. It wasn't, I didn't request it. I just jumped right on in. I started doing the job. And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So,
well, congratulations to you too.
Well, thank
man.
you. Give myself some applause, I think. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. So it's one of those things. If you're motivated, it's very important. And in this particular job, you have to be motivated. Yeah. We have different personalities. We have fresh new faces, new members walking in daily in here. So we can't have negative feelings. We can't have I don't want to do this type of attitude. Everything is I always say is all hands on deck. I started here at maintenance. And from maintenance, 2 weeks later, I became front desk. Once I became front desk, I was like, you're wasting my time. And they were like, why? I'm like, because I could do so much more. I stood there because that was what they needed at the point. But then they moved me to other places, supervisor, key holder, all those little things in a clubhouse, which you went through in, bigger situation. But still, I moved all the way up to the point that, you let me, you trust me with a building. If, our boss is not here, you'd be like, okay, Ish is there. We could handle this. We could handle that. So that's very important for someone to realize these things, that you can do and what you're capable of doing.
No, absolutely.
So I love the company for that reason. And the reason that we always are learning and we always are teaching somebody, whether it's the youth, whether it's my kids, whether it's your kids or somebody else's kids, we're teaching somebody.
Yeah, no,
and that's a flow that never stops. We never stop that. So could you tell me a little bit about the differences in some of the clubhouses? I do have 2 questions that I'm going to ask from the staff, and that's the only thing I prepared.
No problem. I mean, we're in 4 standalone locations in the Bronx. When I say standalone, we own and operate 2 of them, which is we're at Kudir now, Randall, our main clubhouse. So at Kudir, if you're not familiar, we have a recording studio here, a dance studio, a small gym, but it's serviceable, and then we just opened a state-of-the-art learning kitchen where our youth and teens will be able to learn how to cook from a certified chef. We just hired a culinary arts director that will be our liaison in the kitchen. So that's
Chef Evie,
important.
in case you don't know.
So from where I sit, it's all about exposures and opportunities. So I'm always looking to find things, not necessarily out of the box, but things that we see and we do and show these kids these are careers. There's careers in everything that you see. So now let's dive in deeper. So to go back, we have Kudir, we have Randall, which is our flagship clubhouse, which is sitting on 5 acres.
It has everything.
It has a pool. It has the
only ice skating rink in the Bronx.
Ice skating rink in the Bronx. We have a 60-yard enclosed turf dome, a baseball field, basketball court. So that's at Castle Hill. We have 2. That's at Randall, Lucille Palmero flagship clubhouse. And then we're in 2 housing developments, Castle Hill houses and Throsneck houses. That gives us an opportunity to work in the actual development, be a part of the Castle Hill and Throsneck communities. We are the fabric of those communities. We host events. We allow people to rent out spaces for baby showers, birthday parties. We do intergenerational events at both locations. And then we have 3 or 4 school-based sites where obviously we're running programs that are funded through the Division of Youth and Community Development, DYCD. And we have 2 shelter sites where we have a multi-purpose room and we work with 20 to 30 of the youngsters that are living in the shelter at the time. Those members kind of turn over more often than not,
the transition,
because those are transition houses. But at the end of the day, we're there to support, whoever comes in those doors. And Kids Bay serves directly about 10,000 kids a year.
Wow, that's a lot. I know we throw that number out a lot, but I know for a fact that I've seen so many faces in the years I'm here. So and when we do big events like the Day for Kids and stuff like that, those places you see the parents that were members and now they're parents, and you're like, wow, I remember when you were 14. I remember your first summer youth job. What I do like about this company, I'm always very proud to wear our badge, the hands. But one of the reasons why I'm very proud is because we give back so much to the community.
Oh, that's
You know,
important.
it's when you see it in someone's face, you be like, wow. And also when the kids come in here and they say, this is the first time I did this. This is the first time I ever did this. The first time I ever did clay. First time I ever did a podcast. First time I ever went to a golf course. First time I even sometimes went to the zoo. So some people live in the neighborhood never had the opportunity. So even when they say this is the first time I went to a baseball game and they live, 2 stops from Yankee Stadium, those are so important because those are the things that you remember in your life. That's a memory
Absolutely.
that's never going to go away.
Opportunity and exposure is what Kips Bay is about.
That's awesome. All right, I think I go to my 2 questions before you. I know you're a busy man today, so I think let me make sure that let me see who sent it first. I think Jared sent me a good question. He said, "What's your biggest motivation for the clubhouse and the organization?"
I think, like I said earlier, I grew up in Kids Bay as a kid and now as an adult. I think my biggest motivation now, as a parent, is also, I sit as an executive of this organization and also a parent. So I look at our organization through 2 different lenses. Would I put my kids through your program?
That's true. I do that all the time.
Would I put my kids in your program? So that's the lens that makes sure that I know that program quality is of standard. And then at the end of the day, what else can I expose these kids to is my motivation. Providing opportunities, exposure, that's something that I keep saying, but I'm serious about it. Skiing, cooking, basketball, football, podcasting, beat making, recording videos.
These are jobs of the future too. A lot of people say, "Hey, what baseball players make, 2 point something million dollars." But you know what? There's a cameraman that films that person that lives really good.
Absolutely.
Living really good with a little $500,
Absolutely.
500,000 a year, and filming and traveling and knowing famous people. So there's other jobs out there that you don't have to say, "Oh, I want to be an NBA star." No. There's someone that films the NBA star.
Yep.
There's someone that interviews them. There's
Yep.
someone that does lighting and all that stuff. So
Yep.
being exposed to different things like that is very important.
Yeah, and then my other goal is to expand. At the end of the day, Kids Bay, we do have a footprint in the Bronx, but I think we can have a bigger footprint in the Bronx. So that's something as opportunities and things arise, is something that I'm looking for.
You want me to go look for some sites? I'll start looking for some sites. I need the overtime, so I'll start looking for some sites.
Looking for sites is one thing. At the end of the day, is the
We gotta
operating
get funded.
budget.
Yeah,
You got to keep that money
All right.
coming in.
Well,
So
we'll throw that
always
back at Dan.
yeah.
We'll throw that back at Dan.
So it's always looking for opportunities to expand where I sit, and my motivation is to kind of bring Kids Bay to the next level.
And before you leave, I know you got a couple of meetings you got to go to. This is a good question. I skimmed a couple other ones and threw that one out. But this question, I don't know the person because I don't have their number locked. But what advice do you give your younger self?
Be patient. I think we all as humans have a tendency of want things when you want them, but sometimes things come when you need them. And
True.
that's one thing that
Preach.
I learned, is being patient. I spoke earlier in this podcast that, in 2008, I told Dan and then Ms. Brown what I wanted. It took me to 2019 to get where I wanted. I could have left and came back, but I stuck it out. I learned what I needed to learn, and now I'm
And from
here.
the people you wanted to learn from. 'Cause
Absolutely. And things had to happen. Like, we did have somebody come in and have the position that I have now, and at the end of the day, I think that person needed to come in, one, to show me some things, and then also show the
them
organization
what I'm capable of.
what who I am and what I'm capable of. So I think everything happens for a reason. I think being patient is one thing that I would tell myself, which is hard.
Yeah.
I still, I
It's
still want
tough.
it all.
Yeah, it's tough. You
I still
want
want
more.
it all.
I'm being patient. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm being patient. I've been here for 10 years, so I'm being a little patient. But
So that's something that I would definitely tell myself is to stick it through and just be patient.
Mr. Sinclair, I would like to thank you, sir. Thank you for your
man.
time. I
This was so
appreciate
much
it.
easier than
You
the
see,
first time.
all right, because maybe it's the lights. Maybe you like the lights. Or maybe it's because I got to bring out more than 2 cameras. That's
Yeah,
what
I
it
don't know.
is.
The last time I felt like I was stuttering and
Yeah,
stambling on
you
my
were
words.
nervous. You were a little nervous. You were still young.
Yeah,
you were still young.
Yeah. When was that? 18?
No, I ain't gonna lie to you. That was about last year.
We see how much we grow in a year.
Come
man.
on,
That's all it's about.
That was last year,
baby.
But thank you for everything,
Thank you.
and thank what you do for us as a staff and for the community, and keep up the good work because I'm watching you too.
No, absolutely.
One of these days, I want to tap you on the shoulder and say, Sinclair, I don't think I want that job, but I want this other job.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I want to give you your flowers because you have pushed and pushed for certain things, and your vision might not have always been caught. People might have always seen it, but now where we at and how everything is growing. So kudos to you too, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And keeping what you wanted to do for these kids important. Because look, we got a brand new setup.
Oh, we got a new
all
setup.
Kind of gadgets and
come on,
and
to give myself another. I always say we got 13,000 listeners out there. That's not an easy process, and we got a whole bunch of countries, like 98 different countries. We got almost every state. I gotta go back to that Montana. I gotta do something with Montana. Okay. But it's nice because it gives the kids a chance to talk. And talk about topics that they want, and now with the camera, they're like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to see myself," and other people get to see them. So that's going to be kind of cool. Awesome. So these video podcasts are going to be awesome. Thank you very much. So
you throwing them up on YouTube or something?
Yeah. I put them on 12 different platforms.
Nice.
YouTube being one of them. Now Spotify has video, so Spotify gets that also. Okay. Apple has it. Google Podcasts. Like if you know how to find a podcast, you can find us. Awesome. And you know what's cool? We're not the only Boys and Girls Club, but whenever you bring Boys and Girls Club, we're always the top one. Because I think we have so many listeners and we have so many podcasts up and we're so frequent. Like I'm pretty frequent with at least 6 to 8 podcasts a week that I put up. Now with video, it is 1 video and maybe 4 podcasts. But since it's so frequent, it's always on the top.
Awesome.
So you put Kips Bay or you put Boys and Girls Club, it always comes up quickly.
Awesome. Right? Keep doing what you're doing.
I'm trying.
Ish,
and you keep watching me, all right? Because I'm watching you too. See you guys.
Check. 1 2 1 2. Check.
A little painful. We're out of here.